The silence of the woods in the remote village of Hop, nestled deep within an ancient forest, life had always been peaceful and quiet. The villagers were close-knit, and everyone knew each other's business. This tranquility was disrupted by a series of strange occurrences that started with the full moon. It began with the livestock. One morning, old man Jacob found his prized sheep slaughtered, their bodies mangled and torn. The villagers speculated it was the work of a wild animal, perhaps a werewolf from the deeper woods. They banded together to reinforce their fences and keep a closer watch over their herds. The next full moon, however, brought a more terrifying event. A young girl named Lila disappeared from her bed. Her parents awoke to find the window open and her bed empty. A frantic search ensued, but Lila was nowhere to be found. The villagers were horrified and puzzled, as no trace of her could be discovered. As weeks turned into months, the village fell under a pall of fear. Strange howls were heard at night, echoing through the trees. Some claimed to see shadowy figures lurking at the forest's edge. Whispers of old legends began to surface, tales of werewolves that once roamed the woods, cursed men who transformed under the full moon's light. Amidst this growing dread, a stranger arrived in Hop. He was a tall, gaunt man with piercing eyes and an air of mystery about him. He introduced himself as Elias, a wandering herbalist seeking refuge. The villagers, though wary, allowed him to stay. Elias quickly proved to be knowledgeable about the forest and its herbs, offering remedies and advice to those in need. One evening, as the full moon rose, Elias gathered the villagers in the town square. He spoke of an ancient curse that plagued their village, a curse that transformed unsuspecting souls into werewolves. He claimed to have knowledge of rituals that could reveal the cursed among them. Desperate and frightened, the villagers agreed to perform the ritual. Under the moon's silvery light, Elias began the ceremony. He drew strange symbols in the dirt and chanted in a language none recognized. The air grew thick with tension, and the villagers watched with bated breath. Suddenly, a howl pierced the night, followed by another. Panic set in as the villagers looked around, trying to identify the source. Elias pointed to a young man named Thomas, who had always been a quiet and unassuming presence in the village. "There," Elias cried. "He bears the mark of the beast." Thomas's eyes widened in terror as the villagers turned on him. Before he could protest, his body began to convulse, and a horrid transformation took place. His limbs elongated, his face contorted, and coarse fur sprouted from his skin. In moments, Thomas was no longer human but a snarling werewolf. Chaos erupted as the villagers fled in all directions. Elias tried to control the situation, but Thomas, now a beast, broke free and vanished into the forest. The village was left in shambles, their trust shattered, and fear entrenched deeper than ever. The next day, Elias was gone, leaving behind only cryptic notes and unfinished rituals. The villagers were left to wonder if Thomas had been the only one cursed, or if there were others among them, hiding their dark secret. Each full moon brought renewed dread, and the howls from the forest continued, a chilling reminder that the curse of the werewolf still lingered in Hop. And so, the villagers lived in perpetual fear, never knowing who among them might next succumb to the curse, transforming into the beast that haunted their nightmares. The silence of the woods was forever broken, and the shadow of the werewolf loomed large, leaving the story of Hop's cursed inhabitants to continue. Months had passed since the horrifying night of Thomas's transformation, but the scars it left on the village of Hop were far from healing. The villagers lived in a state of constant vigilance, especially as each full moon approached. They had bolstered their defenses, but a palpable sense of dread remained, an ever-present weight on their shoulders. One chilly evening, as the full moon began its ascent, a meeting was held in the town hall. The villagers had become increasingly suspicious of one another, the fear of hidden werewolves tearing at the fabric of their community. Trust was a fragile commodity, and accusations flew freely. Among those at the meeting was a woman named Eliza, a widow who had lost her husband to the woods years ago. She had always been regarded as a bit of an outsider, and the recent events had only increased the wary glances cast her way. Despite this, Eliza was determined to uncover the truth and bring an end to the terror. "Enough," she shouted over the clamor of voices. "We need to find Elias. He knows more than he told us. We need answers, and he's the only one who can provide them." The room fell silent. Many had questioned Elias's sudden departure and the cryptic notes he left behind. Reluctantly, they agreed that seeking him out might be their best chance at ending the curse. A small group of villagers, including Eliza, set out to track Elias. They followed the sparse clues he had left, leading them deeper into the forest. The journey was fraught with danger, and the howls of wolves echoed ominously through the trees. After days of searching, they stumbled upon a hidden cabin. The structure was old and dilapidated, overgrown with ivy and moss. Hesitant but resolute, they approached and knocked on the door. To their surprise, Elias himself answered, looking as though he had been expecting them. "I knew you would come," Elias said, his voice carrying a hint of resignation. "Come in. We have much to discuss." Inside, the cabin was filled with ancient tomes and strange artifacts. Elias explained that he had left Hop because he feared for his own safety. The rituals he had begun were only the beginning, a first step toward understanding the curse that plagued the village. "There is more to this curse than you know," Elias began, his expression grave. "It is ancient, born of a pact made long ago. The werewolves are bound to the forest, and the forest to them. To break the curse, we must uncover the true origins and sever the ties that bind them." Eliza and the others listened intently as Elias recounted the legend of the forest and the pact made by their ancestors with a dark entity. The werewolves were not mere victims but guardians of an ancient secret, a secret that could spell doom for the entire region if unleashed. As they delved deeper into the lore, a chilling realization dawned upon them. The curse was not confined to the full moon. It was a living, breathing force that could be manipulated. Those who were cursed had the ability to control their transformations to some extent, hiding their true nature even during the day. Back in Hop, the tension escalated. Without the knowledge the group was uncovering, the villagers grew more paranoid and fearful. Friend turned against friend, and the once tight-knit community began to fracture. Elias devised a plan to perform a final ritual that could reveal the true nature of the curse and, possibly, how to break it. However, the ritual required a sacrifice, a willing participant who would bear the brunt of the curse's wrath. Eliza volunteered, her determination to save her village outweighing her fear. As the group prepared for the ritual, the full moon loomed large in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the forest. In the dead of night, as the villagers huddled in their homes, the ritual began. The air crackled with energy, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Eliza stood in the center of a circle, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, a piercing howl broke the silence, and from the shadows emerged not one, but several werewolves. The group was surrounded, their plan teetering on the brink of failure. Elias shouted instructions, urging them to hold their ground. Just as it seemed all was lost, Eliza felt a surge of power course through her veins. She locked eyes with the lead werewolf, a glint of recognition passing between them. With a cry, she completed the final incantation, and a blinding light engulfed the forest. When the light faded, the werewolves had vanished, and the forest was still. Eliza collapsed, exhausted but alive. The group helped her to her feet, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "The curse is weakened," Elias said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it is not broken. There are still secrets we have yet to uncover." As they made their way back to Hop, they knew their journey was far from over. The village was safe for now, but the dark forces that had haunted them were still out there, lurking in the shadows. And so, the story of Hop continued, a tale of bravery, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of the truth. The silence of the woods was no longer a comfort, but a reminder that the past was never truly buried, and the curse was never truly gone. As Eliza and her companions returned to Hop, a sense of hope mingled with the lingering fear. The villagers greeted them with a mixture of relief and apprehension, eager to hear what had transpired in the forest. Eliza recounted their journey, the revelations about the curse, and the unfinished ritual. The villagers listened intently, their expressions a blend of shock and determination. Elias stepped forward, his eyes meeting those of the villagers. "The curse is weakened, but we must work together to break it completely. We need to uncover the full truth and perform the final ritual. It will require the strength and unity of the entire village." The villagers, inspired by Eliza's bravery and Elias's knowledge, agreed to support the endeavor. They spent the next weeks preparing, gathering ancient texts, studying the lore, and reinforcing their bonds as a community. The once divided village began to heal, united by a common purpose. Elias led them in the search for the final pieces of the puzzle. They discovered old records and hidden chambers beneath the village, filled with artifacts and scrolls that held the key to the curse's origins. The story of the pact with the dark entity came into clearer focus. It had been a desperate act to protect the village during a time of great strife, but the price had been far greater than anticipated. As the next full moon approached, the village was ready. Elias and Eliza gathered everyone in the town square, where a large ritual circle had been prepared. The villagers stood together, their faces resolute, as Elias began the final ritual. The air grew thick with anticipation as Elias chanted the ancient incantations. The ground trembled, and a cold wind swept through the square. Eliza, standing at the center, felt the familiar surge of power, but this time, it was tempered with the strength of her community. From the shadows, the werewolves emerged once more, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The villagers held their ground, their fear replaced by determination. Eliza reached out her hands, and the werewolves paused, sensing a change. "Elias, now," she shouted, and Elias completed the final incantation. A brilliant light erupted from the circle, engulfing the werewolves and the villagers alike. The forest seemed to sigh, and the dark entity's presence dissipated. When the light faded, the werewolves were gone, replaced by the forms of their human counterparts. Thomas and the others lay on the ground, exhausted but alive. The villagers rushed to their aid, helping them to their feet. Elias smiled, the weight of years of fear and uncertainty lifting from his shoulders. "The curse is broken," he announced. "The dark entity's hold on this village is no more." A cheer erupted from the villagers, their joy and relief palpable. They embraced one another, tears of happiness streaming down their faces. The village of Hop had faced its darkest fears and emerged victorious, united and stronger than ever. Eliza looked around at her friends and neighbors, a sense of peace settling over her. The village had been through much, but they had proven that together they could overcome anything. The silence of the woods was now a comfort, a reminder of their resilience and bravery. Life in Hop slowly returned to normal, but the villagers never forgot the lessons they had learned. They honored their past, acknowledging the mistakes and sacrifices that had led to the curse, and they looked to the future with hope and determination. The bonds they had forged during their darkest times would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, the story of Hop came to a close, a tale of darkness and light, fear and courage, and ultimately, a community's triumph over the shadows that had haunted them. The woods, once a place of terror, now stood as a testament to their enduring spirit and the power of unity.